Cock, how we doing? With it being international break, I feel like it's a good time to look forward to World Cup 2026 and see what my current squad would be for that time. Now, I'm doing this video because I saw James Lawrence Alcott do it. Now, if you didn't know who that is, then that's on you. He's easily one of the best content creators for football there is. I'll put a link in the description, but I literally saw his video and I'm even using the same tier list that he did, so I'm just taking his video idea. Thank you. Now, for this upcoming international break, Tuchel has picked his squad, which you can see on screen now. We've got Dean Henderson, Pickford and Trafford in, and then defenders Dan Burn, Guehi, Konza, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Nico O'Reilly from Manchester City, who replaces Reece James, Kwanzaa, Jed Spence, John Stones, Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White, Jordan Henderson, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Declan Rice, Morgan Rogers, and then forwards of Jared Bowen, Eze, Gordon, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, and Ollie Watkins is the current squad to play Wales and Latvia, two of the big powerhouses of international football, baby. But looking at the categories in the tier list, we have got 100% in, which is for your Pickfords, and well, we'll come into it, won't we? Then 99% in, probably. Then there's the gulp category, which is like, are you in trouble? Obviously, we'll come to it. And then finally, last but not least, well, it is least and all, just change to Scotland, man. You've got no chance. And we'll go in positional order. So, keepers that we've got on offer are Pickford, Ramsdale, Jordan Henderson, and James Trafford. Now, a few of these do speak for themselves. Jordan Pickford is England's #1 for a reason. He's never let us down. He also has never let Everton down, which I think is a common misconception with Jordan Pickford. People used to think they were really good for England, but crap for Everton. He's always been just really good. Second choice, I would say, is Hendo. I'm not going to put him at 100% because you never know. You might get some other keepers just come flying from absolutely anywhere. But unless there's an absolute howler and concedes 100 goals from now to end of season, Henderson's practically a given as well. And then you're probably looking at a toss-up now between Ramsdale and Trafford. And I think this would have been such an easy choice if Donnarumma wouldn't have been signed for Man City. I feel like it's a little bit of career suicide from Trafford. With it being a World Cup year at the end of this, and you're going to get EFL Cup and FA Cup and maybe some Champions League games, but Donnarumma's clearly #1. Trafford, I feel like, has made a bit of a boo-boo by going here at this time. But that being said, to me, I'll put Trafford's probably, and I think Ramsdale's a bit of a gulp. Every season, effectively, for the last 4, I think it's 4, or is it 3, Ramsdale's been relegated from Premier League. I don't think he is truly up to the standard required of an English keeper. And especially when you've got Pickford, who's definitely going, Henderson's more or less going as well. And then Trafford, who, despite going to Man City, still looks quite a bit better than Ramsdale. I think that is probably the order 1 to 4 on what I expect. I won't say that Ramsdale's have changed to Scotland because you never know. Like, we're an injury away from him being in there. But that is what I think for keepers. Now, obviously, the squad size has been increased to 26 because of Qatar World Cup, weren't it? And there's no signs, really, that it's going to be reverted back to 22, I believe it were. So you have got more wriggle room on who to bring. Like when Keane was saying, is Henderson a cheerleader or something like that? Is he good in dressing room? You can afford to bring them type of boys, even though you know they're not really going to play, just because you've got that much leeway. But if we're moving to centre-backs now, there's a lot to choose from. A lot to choose from. And first one, Branthwaite, I do think is a little bit of a gulp. Very unlucky with the timing of the injury, because a left-sided centre-back is something that, well, a left-footed centre-back even, is something that I think is quite up in air. And Branthwaite being the age that he is, I think it had been a good experience for him to be taken to this. But with the injury, I just really doubt it. The main ones immediately, you are looking at John Stones, who 100% goes and is one of England's starting centre-backs, I would say, with probably Mark Guehi as well. I do think they are the best two. And that's very harsh on someone like Konza, was another one that I do think he 100% goes as well. There's not really anything in me that believes there's even a smidge or a chance that he don't go. I think if we're going to be playing a back 4 anywhere, it's going to be 2 from 3 for a lot of it. Yes, you've got other options with it being a 26-man squad, so you can take more players and you can take more centre-backs if you really need to for cover. But I think that the only 3 that will get serious minutes are Stones, Guehi and Konza, and I think they all 100% go. Now, the other conversation, you're going from Dan Burn, Joel Kwanzaa, Levi Colwill, Maguire, Ben White. And, well, no, I was going to say walk in a back 3, but no. From least likely to most, I would be getting my grandma's passport out if I was Benjamin White. He don't want to play for this country anyway, and I feel like that's not something that you can just sort of come back from. You don't get to pick and choose when you play for your country, and personally, I'd be shipping him off up to Glasgow immediately. As for some of the other ones, like I was saying about the left-footed attribute here with Branthwaite, I think that Colwill is really, really unlucky. Because if he did not get... Well, he's done his ACL and for Chelsea. If he didn't do that, I'd be doing that. I just think it's a given, really, that they are the 4 best centre-backs that we've actually got, personally, and we've got some really good ones behind these. But as a big 4, I think that would have been it, and that would have picked itself. But because of the injury to Colwill, I think we're probably putting you as a goalkeeper and all, and I really don't want to because he's such a good centre-back. And not to take it away from some of these other players as well. Like, Jarrell Kwanzaa, I think... I'm saying change to Scotland. I know he's a young lad, and he's gone to Bayer Leverkusen, so I'm never going to see him play again anyway, apart from in Champions League occasionally, if they play an English team. Nah. I'm sorry, no, I'm just not having it. And then behind that, you have got Dan Burn and Harry Maguire. Now, Dan Burn, I would say is 99% in, to be honest, because of the injury to Colwill. Unless Colwill comes back and he's just incredible straight away, I would say that Dan Burn is then 4th choice. Because of the left-back side of things as well. He can play there for Newcastle, can't he? And he has been playing there for Newcastle a little bit. But as a centre-back / left-back, it's 2 birds, 1 stone for someone who can cover multiple positions that's not an actual realistic threat to starting for us anyway. So I think they're the type of squaddies that know the place, seem like good lads, you know what I mean? They're just great fellas to have around place, even though they know they're not going to get loads of game time. I think Dan Burns just like... proper bloke. I'd take him. Not to take away from his footballing ability just by speaking about him as a man. But yeah, he's a very good centre-back for a reason. He starts for a side that's been taken over by Saudi quadruple trillionaires. And he's still there. He's nailing a place down every week. He's a good defender, Dan Burn is. And he covers 2 positions. With it being a 26-man squad, I think you can afford then to have real big, serious leaders that, again, are going to be really good knowing that they're not going to play. And it's just sort of a bit of a player / staff role. Like, in case you really needed to play, you are there, and he's got a lot of experience in doing it. We're all looking at big fat slabhead. I would probably take him, you know. Once we get to end and I've got it like nailed by position, who's going where, I look at this and think, we've got us 3 keepers in, and then out of 26, you're probably allocating 4 centre-backs, maybe 5 if one of them can cover another position. And that's what Dan Burn does. These are the big 3 that are going to play all your minutes. Probably these 2, really, in Stones and Gerhe, with Konza being the first player in, which is a really good 3rd choice centre-back to have. And then Dan Burn can play left-back or centre-back, and Maguire's just sort of there in background, bringing him biscuits and cups of tea, just in case. But I would probably take Maguire. I really would. Now, on to fullbacks. This is, I would say, probably one of the hardest positions to actually choose. Because, obviously, in a back 4, you're going to take 2 of each, aren't you? If you can have somebody that can cover both positions. Like, maybe Walker could at a real push. If we transition to a back 3, he can play right centre-back or right back or right wing-back. There's a lot of positions there. But with the amount of players that are here, Walker, Lewis Hall, Reece James, Tyrick Mitchell, Livramento, Nico O'Reilly, Rico Lewis, Trent, Jed Spence, Miles Lewis-Skelly, there is a lot of very talented footballers there. And to say that you're only going to probably take 4, it is tough to nail down the ones that do. To be honest, I think in this case, it's easier to say the ones that just definitely will go rather than the ones that won't. And best to worst, you're looking at Reece James, who 100% starts at right back. If he's fit, he's his best one. There's always a conversation with him and Trent, but I think that's almost been settled now. The defensive side of things is something that Tuchel's really keen on. He likes defenders that can defend first and foremost, and Reece James just is that. But then other than that, it's anybody's guess. I think this is quite harsh, and I don't truly mean it, but Rico Lewis is not going. I really think it would be unlikely for him to do so. I don't want him to change to Scotland because he is a good footballer and he's only 20. But Nico O'Reilly has nailed that position down now, and he's effectively starting left back for Man City in front of Rico Lewis, who is nor a left back or a 6. I don't really know what he is anymore. I don't think he does. I don't think Pep does. But Pep's really good at bringing these players through anyway, which is good for us. But I think Nico O'Reilly is one that's got a little bit more of a chance right now of going, and I still don't think he's got a chance at all. So, respectfully, with these 2, don't change to Scotland, but I don't think there's much chance for him going. If anything, I would put Nico O'Reilly there in the gulp, just in case there's a few injuries further up line, but I don't think he'll want a 20-year-old left-back starting in World Cup with a chance of actually winning the thing. Kyle Walker, I would also say it's a gulp. I'm not convinced anymore. I really don't think Tuchel's the man to really pick someone who plays for Burnley anyway. But a lot of Walker's main attributes were the physical ones, and as you're getting older, they're sort of depleting a little bit. Still a really good footballer, but compared to some other boys on this list, I'm sorry, no cigar. Same as Lewis Hall, been unlucky with injuries a few times, but Dan Burn starts at left back over him, and Livramento, who I would say is 99% in, is the starting right back for Newcastle. He's outstanding, and if it weren't for Reece James, I would be starting him, which does speak to Trent. I'm going to put him in probably, but that's just because there's 26 men. If it were a case of you've got 2 per position and then you've got 6 midfielders, 4 defenders, 2 strikers, you don't want to make 3 keepers, everything sort of picks itself. Trent ain't getting on that plane if it's a 22-man squad at all. But I think just because of the extended squad that it is and the attributes and skill set that he has, if we're playing some absolute dog and duck side like Wales, then he's maybe got a chance at getting in there. But he doesn't start. I don't think he's back up. I just think in certain specific circumstances, if we need somebody to just come on rate and just spam balls into the box 24/7, if we're chasing a game almost, then I do think he is somebody that could come on for a last 15-20 minute, rarely. So that's 5 centre-backs and 3 right-backs, more or less. One of them can play left-back in Burn, the centre-back as well. But then I think we're picking 2 from 3 here, from Tyreek Mitchell, Jed Spence, and Miles Lewis-Skelly. Luke Shaw's not on this, and I can understand why. I weren't going to go out of my way to put him on. I know he starts for Man United now, but he's been crap for multiple years now, and you're not going to get called up to England squad by just being okay for England, which he has been quite consistently all right for England. But when you're just shit week in, week out for Man United and your team's crap, nah, I'm not having Luke Shaw. So it's between Tyreek Mitchell, Jed Spence, and Miles Lewis-Skelly, 2 from 3 to go, I would say, because of the Dan Burn aspect. And personally, I'm 100% taking Tyreek Mitchell. As fans, all we ever do, and Southgate were a big culprit of this, you would take Rashford. Regardless of how he's playing, it could be absolutely crap. I'm taking Rashford every time. And we'd always call out for, well, Gordon's playing really good. Look at Greeley. Look at these players that are doing really well, and they're not getting call-ups. Tyreek Mitchell is England's best left-back. He's going into his 5th season now of starting every single week for Crystal Palace. Palace are a super team. The Premier League put some on the other day because they lost, didn't they, Palace at first time. Speaking about Arsenal's Invincible trophy still being intact, Palace caused that. They went 18 games unbeaten. They qualified for Europe. They've won FA Cup. They're a great team. And Tyreek Mitchell's the starting left-back for him. He's 25. He's got a lot of experience under his belt now. Tyreek Mitchell starts for England for me at left-back. And personally, I'm having Jed Spence. I think he's 99%. And then Miles Lewis-Skelly, unfortunately for you, my brother, you are a gulper. Jed Spence just starts more. He gets more game time. Again, he can cover both positions if we're really playing that game. But he's so comfortable at left-back. So is Dan Burn. But with how my squad is lining up and how my 11 lines up, Tyreek Mitchell is the starting left-back for England. And Jed Spence can go there if needed. Dan Burn can go there if not. Miles Lewis-Skelly is not getting the minutes at this moment in time for Arsenal required, I think, to get you on that plane to go to England. So, unfortunately, you're staying at home, buddy. How many have I got there, including keepers? So, 13 on my 26 is gone. But they are your biggest one. It's centre-backs. You've got to take a few of them, haven't you? 3 keepers. So, I'm on track here. I'm doing okay. Now, midfielders. If we're going to play just a bog standard 4-3-3 and you've got to cover all your bases here, you want your 6s, 8s, and 10s. And I've just clumped them all into one because I don't want to do that. Now, there's a lot of options here. If I scroll down so you can see all of them above my head. Henderson, Elliot Anderson, Rice, Bellingham, Wharton, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Kobe Mainoo, Gallagher, Curtis Jones, Angel Gomez, Job Bellingham, Mount, Morgan Gibbs-White, Ford. If you're going into 10s here that can maybe play out wide and all, you're getting into that awkward territory, aren't you now? Foden, Palmer, James Maddison, Eze, Morgan Rogers as well. There's a lot of players there for not a lot of positions. Let's get the glaringly obvious lads out of the way. Adam Wharton starts for England. He's going to go for 100 million quid. And I don't want to just come and say I told you so, but when he were at Blackburn, I was really hyping this fella up before he even got that move to Palace. Listen, I don't want to sit here and say oh yeah, well I were a midfielder because I played at Sunday League. I think if you were a winger, for example, growing up, you'd sort of look at wingers a different way. I look at Wharton and I just think, I wish I could have been like that. Because you look at him and think, it just makes everything look so simple. He just looks so far ahead of everybody else mentally. And it's not just a case of stat padding passes. They don't just launch it sideways and backwards 15 yarders all the time. He's a very progressive midfielder to say he's a 6 as well. I love him. I absolutely love him. He's such an intelligent footballer. And I think everybody were crying out for it in Euros for a reason. He is needed in this team. And I think it's gone past him potentially being in squad. I think he starts, definitely. That doesn't change some of the other lads that can be in these positions, though. Like, the backup for me is probably Elliot Anderson. No, 99% is Elliot Anderson, to be fair. Again, a really good footballer, just slightly unlucky that there's somebody this good in front of you in your position. Some others that are definitely going. Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, probably it for lads that are definitely going, because that is your starting three in it. You're looking at Adam Wharton, Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham, which is ridiculous, really. So we've got 4 lads in there. Let's just get rid of some lads that aren't got a chance at a minute. Angel Gomez, Joe Bellingham. Just, come on, lads. James, why are these fellas on this tier list? And then, I'll tell you what, if we go all the way to Rodgers, there's still so many players to pick from here. And you can maybe take another 3, maybe, and that's it. Respectfully, I do not watch international football, like I said, unless they're in Champions League. But Ruben Loftus-Cheek, get a grip. Kobe Mainoo. Oh, he's such a good footballer, and he was really good for us in Euros. I'll put him as a gulp, because who knows, maybe there's a sliver of a chance, but I very, very highly doubt that, given the strength of a lot of these other lads that are in there as well. Conor Gallagher, I would say, is another gulp. Curtis Jones, I think, is a gulp. And now it gets really... James Maddison is a gulp. Now we are really in trouble with some of these. To get rid of that many, I would probably take Jordan Henderson. I know what you're all... And I can hear the boos already. Boo! Just hear me out. Forget what Jordan Henderson once was, which was still a very good footballer at Liverpool for about 10 years, by the way. He has been very good for Brentford. I don't think people want to admit it just because they've got some like agenda with certain players of past who they just weren't right keen on. But Jordan Henderson's been a really good footballer for Brentford this season. He's been a really good addition after they lost the captain. He just immediately come in, filled that void from the psychological leadership side of things. But some of his passing for Brentford so far has been top draw. And he's probably like the midfield Harry Maguire. You know, somebody that he's probably not going to play. But I think he'll get like a... Well, I don't mean that actually. I think he would play. He's not going to start, is what I'm trying to say. But if we're... Imagine this, quarterfinals, we're 2-0 up, it's 80th minute. You might not like it because it means that we're not going to score any more goals. But Jordan Henderson comes on, you've won. That's it. All right, it just sprints about, just picks ball up, sideways passes, easy pickings. If he comes on pitch and you've got a 2-goal advantage, you have won the game. And I would love someone like that, personally. He's not going to start, but I think with the extended 26-man squad, I would take Jordan Henderson on that plane. Probably, anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, God, I can take 2 more maximum. Gibbs White, no chance. I'm sorry, I'm trying to like find a reason. Maybe he's a bit of a goal because, again, I don't really want him to change to Scotland, but I don't think he'll get in and nail a place down ever. Foden is probably a gulp. He started playing better for Man City, but it is only better. It's not like what he once was. Not to compare him to his own standards, because we know what he once were, and it'd be unfair to say you've got to get back to being one of the best players in the world to just get on playing. But there's just other players in front of him that are playing better than him at minute. Like Palmer, I think he's probably 99% in. I wouldn't say he's an absolute given, like Wharton, Rice, Jude are, but I think Palmer's more or less next best thing, and he goes for me. I think you're getting one more on here, and it's one of Mount Eze and Morgan Rogers. If we're basing it on last season, then Morgan Rogers goes. But so far, he has not been the same man that he was last year. And we're not taking him based on last year. We're taking him based on right now. And I think that is what a lot of English people have always said. Like I just earlier with someone like Tyreek Mitchell, you've got to go off what's happening now, not what someone's name is or what they were like 8 months ago. We've got to go off what they are right now. And unfortunately, I think Rodgers is just not getting on that plane for me. This is really tough. I think Eze is 99% in fairness. And I really do think one of my outside shots for someone that, if they carry on, could really be in there is Mason Mount, because I think he's been really good for Man United. And I know it's only Man United, and it's not that hard to look good at minute in a team that's that poor. But if he carries on like he is doing, it's a really good finish that he scored at weekend. If he carries on like he's doing, I think there's a slight sliver of an outside chance that Mason Mount could be going to World Cup with England. But he's got to do it more consistently. And right now, I would not have him in because of that. Right. How many spots have I actually got left? Because I feel like I've lost count there. Right, so I've took 20 so far. So I've got 6 attacking-minded players that I can take. Oh dear, this is going to be tough. Right, the obvious. Harry Kane, 100% goes. There's no argument for it whatsoever. Bukayo Saka, 100% goes. Again, not a question. It's not even worth speaking about, to be honest. Marcus Edwards, what are we doing here? Liam Delap. Sorry, mate. Solanke. Come on, man. These guys, it's just not happening, is it? I think Watkins is another one that you can just immediately, like, sort of put in. And you're going to use the argument, I can already see some people commenting it. Well, why would you take him and not Rodgers for the same sort of reasoning? There are a lot of very good number 10s that England have got. You've got Jude Bellingham who can play there, Palmer, Eze, even some players that I didn't even get live today to, like James Maddison, Foden. There's so many lads that are in that conversation. For strikers for England, apart from Harry Kane, there are not many. Harry Kane picks himself, and I think Watkins, after last season in Euros anyway, he got us to final. He scored that I don't think anybody at that time would have even had shot from, and he got us to final with something like that. And I think that moment can just, like, carry you through certain situations and certain debates because he's been tested and proven that he can do it. Is he going to start? Obviously not. But I would take Ollie Watkins, definitely, as the backup behind Harry Kane. Right, I've not got a left winger. My Jack. He's mad. Ooh. I love him. I absolutely love him. He's gorgeous. First thing I said. No, he's a great bloke, again, and whether you start him or not is a different topic completely, which is why the other sort of position at left wing makes it quite difficult. But Grealish, when he's not got 11 defenders sat in front of him like he had to deal with at Man City, he's a very good footballer. Look at the stats that he's put up for Everton so far. Just look at the general play that he's had for Everton so far. It would cost 100 million quid, and he got his first ever Premier League player at month in his first games at Everton. He's got about 4 man at matches. He's been one of the huge, massive reasons why Everton have started so well. And I just think I think he definitely goes. There's not even a smidge in my mind that he's even considering Jack Grealish not going to World Cup Whereas if he keeps playing like he is. The question is, does he start or not? Not does he go? Which leaves, well, a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 2 players left to pick from. Eze is, I think this is why he's quite a luxury as well, Eze. Because, again, he can cover both wings if you really want him to. He can play at 10. He can do anything effectively. We know where starters are for up front at right wing because you're looking at Kane and Saka. But someone like Madueke is someone that I think could probably end up going for that exact reason. Same as Eze. It'd be a very good backup to Saka. He can go on left wing because he's done it for Chelsea a few times and he's done it for Arsenal, I think. Is he going to start? No. But is he a very good backup? Yes. If we have to put Saka at left back for some unknown reason, then he can go at right wing, Madueke. But I do think A, he's probably going to go, and B, I would probably take him. So it goes in there. Now, another one that is 99% in, and I do think is probably the starter, if I'm being completely real, on left wing, is Anthony Gordon. But I think there's more chance of him not going than Grealish, despite me thinking that Gordon will start. Now, make sense of that if you will. They're quite different types of wingers in that I expect Gordon to actually try and take someone on, whereas Grealish can keep ball a little bit more with the pep side of things drilled into him. But I think Grealish is a more all-rounded winger, if you want to call it that. But I do think Gordon is somebody that will 99% go, which means that we bring it down to, if we take everybody in the probably category, upwards, so we take none of the gulpers, and this is our squad so far, everybody from probably 99% and 100% in. We have got to choose between Rashford and Jared Bowen for who makes up the 26 man. And I have got my answer, but unfortunately, I'm not saying it for footballing reasons here, because I do think Rashford and Jared Bowen are 2 very similar players in terms of output and ability and what I truly expect from them, and generally their impact on this squad. Neither of them are going to start, but they'll probably get last 15-20 minutes if we're chasing a game, or for fitness, for example, if we just storm through a group easily. Then they're probably going to get same amount of minutes, same amount of everything. But I would probably take Jared Bowen instead of Marcus Rashford to the World Cup. And the reason being, I think if you swap it round and you do this, I have been alive for 25 years. And it's been a thing for much longer than I've existed. The media are never, ever, ever going to shut up about Rashford if he goes. Whatever he does, they're going to be there. It's going to be highlighted, entire thing. They make a villain out of somebody every single time. Media in this country are an absolute disgrace. They did it with Sterling. They've done it with Rashford loads of times. They will try and find anything possible to bring the man down. And I just think it'll have a negative effect on squad and like every aspect. And it's not even Rashford's fault, but I just think everything will point to negatives with English media is Rashford is to go. Even if he plays for 10 seconds, right, against somebody and win 5-0, the article the day after will be about Rashford because he'll have his laces undone or something. They'll just take the piss for no reason. And I just don't think it's needed when you're looking at two players here that aren't going to get that many minutes anyway. So, for that reason and that reason alone, really, I would take Jared Bowen, probably, instead of Marcus Rashford to World Cup. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 20... Oh, to 27. Right. If I've got to chop one man from this... personally, I think it's ridiculous that teams take 3 keepers. I'm going to be completely real. When has anybody ever, in any competition in history, ever needed to take 3 keepers to something that's going to be maximum 9 games? You just don't need it there, really. But for social norms, I'm going to keep him in, Trafford. Obviously, all your 99% and uppers are all going. So I've got to get rid of either Maguire, Trent, Jordan Henderson, Madueke, or Jared Bowen. Now, I'm not getting rid of Jordan Henderson, so I'm going to move him up there. I'm obviously not getting rid of Trafford, so I'm going to move him up there. John Henderson, I'm not bothered what anybody says. He's going. Madueke goes, for me. Can cover both wings really well. Jared Bowen goes. We've got to look at the attacking talent that we've got here. And that gives you, if we put John Henderson down to where he actually belongs in the middle there, and you put strikers there, that means that we've got 7 for 3 positions. That's good depth. In comparison to the other ones, that's what you need. So, if it's either Maguire or Trent, we've got, for centre-backs, John Stones, Mark Gurhit, Konza, and Dan Burn. So, we've only got 4 there. And for right-backs, we've got Reece James, Livramento. That's it again. Now, this is tough. I will take Maguire over Trent. So, unfortunately, Trent, you are a gulp because I cannot count. Do I think Maguire will get 1 minute? No. But just in case we get loads of injuries to defenders, I'd rather have him than Trent, personally. I'd rather put somebody out of position at right back, like John, than have Trent. And that's just me. Apologies, everybody. But that's that. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you do enjoy. And make sure you check out James Lawrence Allcott if you don't, for some reason, know who he is. Absolutely incredible stuff. Love you all. Thank you again. I'll see you in a bit. Goodbye.
I say I'm a man. Yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us bit it.